Welcome to this Moving Panels one-shot. Let's have a nerdy little conversation. And today we are ending our March Madness. We're going to do a clash of the panels, if you were. It's a superhero showdown, if you want to call it that. But all month long, we have been diving into two iconic shows, Arrow and Smallville, discussing their pilot episodes. Now, it'll all come down to this. Two legendary TV pilots enter, and only one will come out victorious. That's right, today we are going to decide which one is the greatest television pilot for a television show. Will it be Superman and his fresh take on the origin, or will it be the darker, grittier Arrow? And joining me on this are all of the co-hosts that talked about this, and they will defend the episode that they discussed. Fighting in Smallville's corner, all by himself, is Mr. Blake Fowler.
Laramy, I'm here to remind everyone of the red trunks, the perfectly coiffed hair, the muscular body. No, I'm not talking about myself on the beach during Senior Week 2005. I'm talking about Superman, okay?
As soon as you mentioned hair, we knew you weren't talking about
I did have it in high school, 2005 Senior Week. I was rocking a full head of hair. But no, this is going to be about the Man of Steel today, and about why Smallville's pilot is much better than Arrow's.
All right, well, looking forward to it, but representing Arrow is a tag team. Please welcome Tim Williams and Justin Baker. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing good. There can be only one, to quote a famous 80s movie, and that's what we're going to find out.
And Justin, how about you? You ready?
Oh, absolutely. Still not going on a cruise or a yacht or open water anytime soon.
Stay off the boat.
All right, well, we're going to jump straight into this. We're going to do this debate style. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I actually got this idea off of a podcast my daughter listens to called Smash Boom Best. And so, yeah, if you've got a kid who's interested in listening to their own podcast, I highly recommend it. But yeah, they put two things up against each other, decide which one is the best. And so that's where I got this idea. So let's go ahead and kick this off. Tim is going to get started by making his opening argument for Arrow, and then Blake will follow up with his opening arguments for Smallville. Justin will then come in for the second round, talking about the casting choices. And then, of course, Blake, once again, will defend Smallville's cast. Then each side will have a chance to rebut or rebut. What is the... All I know is it's rebuttal. But do you say rebut or rebut?
I believe it's rebut. But
rebut?
I could be wrong. Rebut sounds like rebuke. I mean, I'm going to be rebuking Arrow during this, but...
There we go. All right. But each side will have a chance for a rebuttal, because that's the only word. I teach math, if I've never said that before. And then I'm going to give them a little bit of a surprise challenge, and I'll let Tim and Justin decide who wants to tackle that, and then they will give their closing arguments, and I will decide which one is the winner. I'm going to try to keep my Superman bias at bay while we do this.
But you don't have to. You don't feel like you have to do that, though.
Well, again, it does help that it's 2-on-1 on this one, but let's go ahead with round one. All right, Tim, floor is yours. Why is Arrow's pilot, why did it set the standard for a superhero TV show? Why is it the best?
All right, thank you so much for the opportunity. So while both laid the foundation for a beloved series, the Arrow pilot is one that, in my opinion, truly sets the stage for a deeper, more engaging experience from the very beginning. Let me explain why. Point one, a more mature tone and direction. When we first meet Clark Kent in Smallville, he's a teenager struggling with the onset of his powers. While the coming-of-age journey of a young Clark is intriguing, Smallville sets a more lighthearted teen drama tone from the get-go. It's not until later seasons that the show begins to embrace the darker, more mature aspects of the Superman mythology. In contrast, Arrow doesn't waste time with a slow build-up. From the moment we meet Oliver Queen on a deserted island, the show immediately presents a grittier, more grounded version of a superhero story. The violence, the personal struggle, and the grimness of Oliver's transformation all feel more intense and serious. There's no sugarcoating it. The pilot dives headfirst into a world of real stakes and consequences. Oliver isn't just a rich playboy, he's a man shaped by trauma and loss, and this darker tone gives the show a maturity that the Smallville didn't reach until much later. The second point is, one of the biggest draws of Arrow is the action. The pilot episode gives us thrilling, fast-paced sequences right off the bat, whether it's Oliver's fight scenes on the island or his high-stakes confrontation with criminals in Starling City. The choreography is tight, the stakes are high, and the pacing never lets up. You're immediately drawn into Oliver's world and his quest for justice. In contrast, Smallville takes a much slower approach. The action scenes in the pilot are relatively tame compared to what we see in Arrow. In fact, much of the first episode focuses on Clark's discovery of his powers and his struggle to control them. While this is important for character development, it doesn't have the same immediate sense of urgency or excitement that Arrow's pilot delivers. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share this with you. I yield my time to the defense.
Tim, were you in debate club when you were in school?
Nope.
Okay. I do appreciate that you kept it just slightly over 2 minutes. So I do.
Okay, good. Yeah,
I do appreciate that.
There was actually 3 other points, but I just chose the top 2. We'll cover the other ones in the rebuttal.
Tim's like, I had 30 minutes worth of.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably should have said, let's keep these opening statements to around 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh God, hold on, let me delete some stuff real quick. I think mine might actually be less time, so Tim may have me on this one with the whole debate club thing.
All right,
just
go
wait
ahead,
for
Blake.
me with Cass, yeah.
Yeah, oh jeez, no. Yeah.
Go on tiny nugget there.
All right. All right, Blake, why does Smallville's pilot stand above the rest?
Yes, Your Honor, first of all, thank you for allowing us to be here today in your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a bird. It's a plane. It's a giant meteor heading directly at you. Why aren't you moving to get out of the way? Your child is going to watch you be crushed into pavement pulp. And thus begins Smallville. Now, if there has ever been a more memorable opening to a comic book show, I haven't been made aware of it. Sure, it is unintentionally funny watching 2 people stare at a massive space rock hurtling directly at them while simply looking and pointing at it, but again, it is memorable. After all of that occurs, we get a beat to mend from that trauma, and we get the iconic moment of the Kents stumbling across Kal-El's spaceship, and a much older than expected, at least for my money, Kal-El stumbling out towards them. Over the course of the pilot, you're shown it all. Teenage awkwardness, high school crushes, action-packed moments of bravery and rescue, subtle hints of a burgeoning rivalry, life lessons on what it means to do the right thing for the right reasons. And at the end of the episode, hope. Hope that Clark eventually gets the girl. Hope that he grows up to be a good man, a just man. Hope that when trouble comes, Smallville and the world will look up and find their Superman. Thank you, Your Honor.
I don't know what it is with this. Okay. All right. Well, Tim, you have heard Blake's opening argument, and so it is now time for you to fire back. So what say you as a rebuttal?
Fake news. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I switched to a different kind of debate there for a second. My rebuttal. I appreciate what you're trying to convey, Blake, with Smallville. Unlike the debate that I gave both sides. You didn't really talk about Arrow at all, probably because we know that it's more superior. Yeah, you talked about the action, but it wasn't really the same kind of action that we got in Arrow. And can I think of a more memorable opening to a superhero show? Yes. This cloaked figure on an island that's running and you're trying to figure out who he is and why he's doing what he's doing had me captured in the first 2 minutes. So, and I'll even say, how many incarnations of Superman have we seen? We know that he's going to come from the meteor. We know the Kents are going to discover him as a little boy. Do we need to retread this again? For the show, perhaps. But does it grab you like Arrow grabbed me? Not at all.
All right, thank you. All right, Blake, your turn. What's your response to Tim's opening argument?
I can completely understand where the prosecution is coming from with their argument, and I'm certainly not here to demean or to denigrate the history that does come from the Arrowverse. However, I'll say this. Smallville is for a generation of viewers who may not have any contextual background on Superman, may not have gone through the trenches of digging through paper boxes of comic books at our local shop to find specific stories and moments for Superman. And so they're given this background so they can have a better contextual understanding of where this person comes from, what they stand for, what they're going to be in the future. And while the action, sure, it may not be as dark and gritty, which I will admit, Your Honor, I do enjoy the dark and gritty. It is well known. But for this particular purpose, I think the lightheartedness of the episode, the sometimes intentional and again unintentional funny moments are used to perfection. And I think it sets up a great storyline for the rest of Clark and the citizens of Smallville.
All right, some things to think about. Y'all definitely came prepared. All right. So we've talked now about the story in general, but what's a superhero show without a great cast? So the next round is our casting call. Each of you will now defend your show's casting choices. And now Tim is going to tag team over to Justin and tag him in. And so, Justin, you're first up. Tell us why Arrow's cast was the perfect choice.
So, Your Honor, I am not as well prepared, as you know, as a normal citizen of this multiverse of madness that we live in. So, I will be shooting straight from the hip here, as you know and love. To me, I will speak on my personal opinions here. To me, the cast of Arrow is just so superb. As you look through, there is only one actor that I even know of. And as you learn and grow with Arrow, you learn and grow with this cast of unknowns. Who among us says they are a Green Arrow fan? And as you watch this episode, you learn who he is. You see these actors and actresses and what they're capable of. While on our counterpart, unfortunately, is a star-studded cast of B-list actors and actresses that you have seen in other movies that deliver.
I'll let him finish.
That deliver performances we've all seen before. There's nothing new. There's nothing exciting. We've all seen it in other performances. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Blake, back to you. Why was Smallville's cast the superior choice?
Judge Wells, and again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, while my opponents across the aisle have chosen to degrade the history that is Smallville, I'm gonna stick to what are the facts here, and I could, Your Honor, just rest my case on this alone. I would like to just read you something very quickly. Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum, Kristen Crook, John Schneider, John Glover, Ian Somerhalder, Aaron Ashmore, maybe the more talented of the Ashmores, some would say, Jensen Ackles, Terrence Stamp, and sleeper cameo Alan Richson. Okay, that's just some of the phenomenal cast of Smallville.
That weren't in the pilot.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're talking about the pilot developing the rest of the series here, okay? All of these people that are eventually going to become part of this universe stem from this pilot episode. And if you want to talk just about the pilot, are there two more teen heartthrobs than Tom and Kristen? I don't think so. Certainly not in the Arrowverse. Certainly not in the Arrowverse pilot. Oliver Queen running through the woods, dirty, grizzled, unattractive in the moment. Does he become attractive later? That's for a different episode. Who's to say, really? But I digress.
You did see the training montage where he does the salmon ladder shirtless, right?
Okay.
Which is,
Again,
just want to put that out there.
A different episode, Tim, that we'll have to discuss that. But
Nope.
teen heartthrobs throughout the pilot. Is there a better Lex Luthor than Michael Rosenbaum, other than maybe Gene Hackman? Certainly not Jesse Eisenberg. But for our purposes here, you either wanted to just be around, or be romantically involved with some of these people. And that is what makes you want to watch television.
Okay. I almost think y'all gave your rebuttals in your arguments for casting there. So, but I'll give you an opportunity. Justin, do you want to give any rebuttal to what Blake had to say?
No, I actually don't.
All right, Blake, how about you?
I have nothing ill to speak of for the argument presented by the prosecution.
All right, so I gotta admit, you're both of you. Your casting arguments weren't as strong as your opening arguments.
Certainly not, Your Honor. That's why this whole case rests entirely on the closing, as we all know.
Well, but before we get to that, we're gonna do a little what I titled here a sneak attack. So a little surprise challenge. I'm gonna throw a question at you that I did not give you ahead of time. So here you go. Here is your challenge. Imagine that you're pitching your show's pilot to a network executive who hates superheroes. Convince them why your pilot is must-watch TV without mentioning superheroes, superpowers, or vigilantes. All right? Blake, I will let you go first on this one.
All right. I really feel like you're going to take a huge chunk out of my closing here with this. At some point in time, we've all felt as though we were different, that we stuck out for the wrong reasons, that we perhaps weren't part of the in crowd. But what if, given the correct guidance from our parents and friends and those that we care about, we find our true selves, and we can show not only those who are familiar with the trials and tribulations of growing up an awkward teenager, but those who maybe lived a little more privileged life, what the other side looks like, then we can all come together for a great 30 minutes of television every night. Or however long Smallville was.
Short in Smallville. Smallville was an hour-long show.
Okay.
Both of you.
Should be 30 minutes then.
Show.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Tim, Justin, which one of you want to take on this challenge?
Ooh, I might have to concede to my partner here. But
Okay.
Am I allowed to make one quip? Or
Sure.
one line? Imagine Deer Hunter, but with people.
There weren't people in Deer Hunter? I could have swore Christopher Walken was in that movie.
You're not hunting the deer.
All right, Tim. Well, that is what your tag team partner had to bring to the table.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
So
All right.
again,
So I'm
pitch me Arrow without any mention of superheroes.
Okay, here we go. Lost was a great show. Remember how they used flashbacks to tell you about what's happening currently, and how there was this mysterious island that we weren't sure what was going on? Let's do that, but let's have it about this rich family that has secrets. So almost like this, corruptive family, but the one son who's kind of like the black sheep, he wants to expose some of that stuff, but he's got to figure all that out. But the island is important too, so we can't forget about the island. But we'll merge these two together, and people are going to watch. Trust me.
Your Honor, he's just describing the plot of Gilligan's Island.
All right. Well, okay. So we've heard your arguments. You've had your ability to do a rebuttal. We've defended the casts. We got our pitches with our sneak attack challenge. And now it is time for the final statements. So your closing argument, if you will. Blake, give us your last words for Smallville.
With honor, Your Honor. honoring you. Throughout the pantheon of television entertainment, there have been countless shows to leave their mark on the history of the small screen. The Simpsons, Grey's Anatomy, Lost, as my opponents have mentioned, Scrubs, Severance, Mindhunter, and that 2013 two-episode run for that weird Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing starring Lin-Manuel Miranda, Do No Harm. We all remember that one. It's great. Fantastic. Falling into those categories of lasting impressions and leaving a legacy would have to be Smallville. Its superheroic take on the coming-of-age story about a boy learning to be who he is meant to be resonates on this planet and throughout the galaxies. While other live-action iterations gave us brief glimpses of Clark Kent becoming the Man of Steel, Smallville gave us lore and legend at length, affording us the opportunity to grow up with one of our heroes. We could watch as he dealt with many of the same issues and run the same gamut of teen ordeals as we all went through. Those, like myself, who did not watch the show during its initial run, still knew about it through water cooler talk. It was appointment television for many, both fans of comics and casual viewers alike. Now, just a moment ago, I mentioned that Smallville, quote, left a legacy. And that legacy is what the Arrowverse has to thank for its run. For without the success of Smallville, I'd argue the CW would have shuttered long before Arrow could stand on the shoulders of the giant that is the world's favorite Kryptonian Kansan. Thank you, Your Honor. I rest my case.
All right. All right. I'm going to let Tim and Justin, I'm going to let both of you give your own closing argument. So, since
let
Tim
my other personality give it a closing argument, too.
Yeah. But since Tim did the challenge, Justin, I'll let you go first with your closing argument.
Yeah. So one thing I'd like to make y'all think is like a kind of like an allegory. I want to get some imagery in here. Think of trees. To me, Smallville's a tall, powerful pine tree, but not a lot going on. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it stands tall and proud, but it didn't really add anything else. You look at the legacy, as my opponent over here talked about legacy. Look at the legacy that Arrow left as a beautiful oak tree. Maybe not as tall, but branches off all the shows that are now considered the Arrowverse, from Batwoman, The Flash, to other things. That is, Arrow has laid the groundwork for this. And just go look at the Rotten Tomato scores. You'll see which one's higher. I close my case.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I don't know if I need to add anything to that closing argument. That was pretty strong. So.
Okay. So you want to leave it at that, Tim?
Yeah. Justin did a great job. I'm gonna leave it right there.
You might even say it has the strength of a Superman. You know, it could.
All right. Well, thank you all. This has been a wonderful debate. So let's break it down round by round. So your opening arguments, both of you did great with the opening arguments. I probably will give a slight edge to Blake with the opening argument. Casting, y'all were both not great.
Abysmal comes to mind.
I didn't know we were doing casting until you said something about it 5 seconds before. So
kind of a push on casting. The sneak attack, both of you handled the challenge well. Blake did a really good job of presenting the idea of Smallville in a way that didn't actually make it sound like superheroes. Tim gave a much better pitch for a television show.
Agreed. Yep.
So close there. And then closing arguments, both of you were very strong. I will give a slight edge, I will say, to Justin. I think Justin made some great points and all of that. So my final decision, my final verdict, since y'all have been treating me like an actual judge in court.
I think only one of us did that. Only one of us did that.
So let's see which pilot reigns supreme. I could just leave this vague and just say, hey, y'all tell me what you think, and then
cliffhanger.
Let people just let people just comment and whatnot. But no, I'm going to make a decision, and I'm honestly, I'm honestly going with Arrow. I think Justin's
Victory.
I think Justin's argument right at the end clinched it because it was neck and neck throughout. But really, as much as I love Smallville, Smallville didn't expand the way that I really think a comic book show should. And Arrow did. Arrow did eventually give us the Arrowverse. And when it comes to origin, pilot, and going into kind of an origin, I do, and we've talked about this on the show before, I do like us to just jump straight into it, and then we learn as we go. And that was what Arrow decided to do. I'm not against, I'm fine with seeing Kal-El come to Earth. I'd rather see that over the Waynes getting shot any day.
Agreed.
How many times does Uncle Ben have to die for us to know that?
Yeah. So I am for this first March Madness where we do this debate and pit two things against each other. I do think the winner of this year's March Madness is Arrow. So there you have it. Again, Smallville, great show. I love every minute of it, but if we're going with which one made the bigger impact right off the bat and which one led to a greater outcome, I will have to say Arrow. So so there you have it.
A gracious loser. I have already filed my appeal with your assistant there. So.
And I will say, even though I was on Arrow, Team Arrow, had I not been a fan of Smallville, I probably would not have given Arrow a chance when it came out. And we talked about that episode. Someone had to actually convince me to watch Arrow because I didn't watch it when it first came out. But because I was such a big fan of Smallville, I knew that type of show could be successful. And so it gave me a little bit more confidence in it.
I'll add on what Tim is saying. Without Smallville, would Arrow have been a success, or would they have been able to lay? Smallville lays that foundation for Arrow.
It feels like the prosecution's using my closing argument.
Verdict's over.
Well, but it's that same argument we make in movies. Talking about Batman '89 wouldn't exist without Superman '78. But you could argue Batman '89 is a better
movie.
Better movie than Superman. Superman '78 still had some of that, cheese, factor in it, that campiness just a little bit, and Burton kind of broke away with that, and I think this kind of falls under that same thing. I think, as Tim made in his opening argument, something a little grittier was definitely what was needed at that time, and whereas yes, it is true with Smallville, we had seen it before. I mean, we had gotten Lois and Clark, with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher, a couple of decades before. And so it was something new. And to use not only Smallville, but to use the idea of shows like Lost and give us kind of a mystery around it as well. I think, again, that's what took it over the edge for me. But it's a narrow margin. It really is. Both of these shows deserve to be in the upper ranking of greatest TV superhero shows. But all right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this this clash of the panels here to end our March Madness. Now, I'm going to ask you still, listeners, do you agree with today's ruling? Let us know. Hit us up on social media. Put it in the comments on Spotify. Let us know. But big thank you to Blake, Tim, and Justin for going head to head. Hope you gentlemen all enjoyed our little debate here.
It was a great time.
Always fun.
Was a blast.
All right. So this marks the end of our March Madness showdown, and what a way to close it out. But don't worry, we've got plenty more coming. We've got a bunch of stuff in April. Lily, my youngest daughter, gets her birthday episode coming up. And then we get into May with our animation month. as we talk about some animated stuff. But we've got it all. We keep our comic book debates going, our deep dives, our discussions, and we hope you join in for us on that. But for today, for Moving Panels, I'm Laramy Wells, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.